Alien ship incoming. This might be the most explosive headline of the year. As we mentioned before, on July 2nd, astronomers spotted a fast-moving interstellar object crashing into the solar system. It's officially named 3I Atlas. It is only the third interstellar visitor ever discovered in human history. Some say it's nothing more than an ordinary comet, but Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb sees it very differently. He argues there's a strong chance this is actually an alien spacecraft, and that its arrival might not be friendly. It could even be, he suggests, a probe sent by some civilization lurking in the dark forest of the cosmos. And just a few days ago, this mysterious visitor finally began to reveal its true face. Astronomers captured new images of it using Hawaii's Gemini North Telescope. Here's what it looks like, glowing like a pearl in the night. At first glance, doesn't it look just like a comet? There's even a hazy glow around it, resembling a comet's coma. For those unfamiliar, a coma forms when a comet approaches the sun. Its surface ice and dust vaporize, creating that glowing cloud. But here's the problem. This glow might just be a disguise. Loeb's latest paper argues that the odds of 3I Atlas being alien technology are as high as 99.99999%. 5 nines after the decimal, practically certain. That's like asking if the sun will rise tomorrow. The odds, he says, are almost the same. And if one day the sun doesn't rise, maybe it's because 3I Atlas took it away. Pretty wild, right? So who is Avi Loeb? He's no internet crank. He's Harvard's longest-serving chair of astronomy and one of America's top astrophysicists. He founded Harvard's Black Hole Initiative, leads the Galileo Project, and even serves on the U.S. President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. Back in 2017, when the famous object ʻOumuamua flew through our solar system, Loeb boldly proposed it wasn't just a rock, but a light-sail spacecraft launched by an alien civilization. And just days ago, Loeb and 2 colleagues from the Interstellar Research Initiative published a new paper. Is interstellar object 3I Atlas alien technology? They measured its brightness and orbit and reached a startling conclusion. 3I Atlas might not be natural at all, but rather an alien spacecraft, possibly even a hostile one. But wait, how do you measure whether something is hostile? This is where the theory echoes the 3-body problem's bone-chilling dark force law. Specifically, the paper lists 6 anomalies that could point to alien technology. Any one of them would be strange on its own. But all 6 together? That's what makes it downright terrifying. Let's look at the first big anomaly. First, let's talk about a wildly flashy coincidence. This object, 3I Atlas, arrived from deep interstellar space. In theory, its incoming direction should be random, coming in at any possible angle. A random angle would be normal, and anything odd would still be within expectations. But here's the thing. Its orbit around the sun is almost perfectly aligned with Earth's orbital plane. You know how Earth's orbit and the other planets' orbits lie roughly in a single flat plane, right? All the planets trace out roughly the same plane as they circle the sun. That plane has a name. It's basically the flat disk the solar system formed in. That plane is called the Ecliptic. Why does this happen? Because when the solar system formed, it was a big rotating cloud of gas and dust, like spreading out a pancake as it spins, right? As it rotated, the material flattened into a thin disk. The sun ended up in the middle, and the remaining material clumped into planets, asteroids, and comets within that disk. So the local solar system bodies all obey that rule. They orbit roughly in that plane. But 3I Atlas is not from our system. It's interstellar. So when something comes from interstellar space, any incoming angle should be reasonable. But it could come from above, below, on a steep slant. Anything goes. Yet it didn't. It came in almost exactly along the ecliptic. Its inclination is under about 5 degrees, essentially sticking to our solar system's main roadway. Wow, if you told me that wasn't a seasoned driver, I wouldn't buy it. Do you know how unlikely that is? It's only about 0.2%. In other words, on average, you'd expect one such face-hugging entry per roughly 500 interstellar objects. The previous two interstellar visitors didn't do that. Take 2017's ʻOumuamua. Its inclination was about 120 degrees, basically plunging in from above the solar system, like an assassin vaulting a wall. And 2019's Borisov came in at roughly 45 degrees. A side door entrance, but 3I Atlas strutted in the front door, a precise main avenue entry. It feels like a stealthy infill, like it knew where we were and decided to blend in, circling along with us. That brings us to the second anomaly, its size. Besides the weird orbit, 3I Atlas has another absurd trait. It's huge. Astronomers made a back-of-the-envelope estimate. If its surface reflectivity, its albedo, were similar to typical small bodies, say around 5%, then, given its observed brightness, that would imply a diameter on the order of tens of kilometers, roughly 20 kilometers by that assumption. What does that mean? Think Manhattan laid sideways, flying through space. Here's the problem. If it's a natural object, we'd expect to have encountered a lot of smaller interstellar fragments before meeting such a big one. Like ʻOumuamua in 2017, only about 100 meters across. Normally, you'd see swarms of small bodies first, then maybe eventually a giant boss. Instead, we appear to have skipped the little fish and jumped straight to a giant monster. It's like fishing in a pond where you should mostly pull up 10 centimeters fish. But on your first cast, you haul up a 20-meter catfish. Your first thought? Newbie boss level, or something weird hiding in that pond. Either something weird is going on underneath, or you stumbled into a scientist's experiment. You're not the angler, you're the catch. Third point, the comet cosplay. By cosplay, I mean it's masquerading as a comet. Oh, right. Remember that first image? At a glance, it looks exactly like a comet. A bright center with a halo, like a coma and tail. But is it really a comet? Loeb notes that, from the early spectral data, the usual cometary gases seem absent. No clear signatures of hydrides, C2 molecules, or other volatile emission lines have been detected so far, meaning it looks like a comet, but it's not outgassing. At least not in the way comets typically do. Then why do we see that fuzzy halo at all? One possible explanation is simple. The image is out of focus. Like when you take a night shot with a shaky hand. Streetlights streak into comet-like tails. That doesn't mean there's actually a comet over your building. Loeb also points out the reflected light appears reddish, which may not come from dusty cometary material, but rather from the reflective properties of surface materials. So is it a comet, or something pretending to be a comet? Even if telescopes later capture clear outgassing and a developing coma, that wouldn't definitively prove a natural origin. Another possibility, it's a craft with an icy coating that sublimates when heated near a star, producing smoke and a comet-like appearance. In other words, it could fake being just a comet. That's a stretch. Some might call it a reach. But hear me out. Why would anyone accept that? Loeb suggests this could be a disguised technology of an advanced civilization. Travel in the ordinary way, look ordinary, and you won't attract attention. You won't be detected by other civilizations. At the very least, it wouldn't be noticed by a civilization as ordinary as ours. Have you heard of the so-called prophecies about alien craft? They say advanced ships could disguise themselves as anything. A cloud, a star, a comet, even a meteor. That's exactly what Liu Cixin described in the three-body problem, the dark forest law of survival. The smartest invasion isn't with laser cannons. It's camouflage. Appear as the most ordinary thing in the sky. Fool all the scientists and slip right past their radars. That's true genius, hiding in plain sight. Fourth anomaly, precision flight. Look closely at 3I Atlas orbit. It doesn't wander in at random. Instead, it flies like a high-precision drone, brushing past 3 major planets with uncanny accuracy. First Mars, within just 19 cents, almost a cosmic close shave. Then Venus, at 65 cents. Finally, Jupiter, skimming by at 36 cents. Every time it looks like a near collision, and yet it just misses, like it's deliberately scouting each planet, ticking boxes on a tour map. What kind of precision is this? Imagine it like this. An interstellar traveler walks into a strange city. That city is our solar system. There are 8 big celebrities, the planets, hundreds of influencers, the moons, and millions of ordinary bystanders, the smaller bodies. Normally, if you wander randomly, you'd bump into crowds, maybe a few minor influencers. If you're really lucky, maybe one celebrity. But this traveler, it somehow brushes by 3 of the biggest stars in town. Can we really call that coincidence? If this were random, the odds of skimming 3 major planets in one run are just 0.005%, 1 in 20,000. Combine that with the near-perfect alignment with our orbital plane, and you're down to 1 in a million. That's what I mean. You need a million interstellar objects before one match this route. It doesn't look random at all. It looks designed, like a guided solar system tour. First check Mars, maybe for traces of ancient life. Then swing by Venus, test if its hellish climate could ever be habitable. Then on to Jupiter to study a gas giant. And Earth? Save that one for last. That brings us to the 5th anomaly, hiding in plain sight. At Perihelion, its closest pass to the Sun, when it should be brightest and easiest to observe. It just happened to hide behind the Sun, totally invisible to Earth's telescopes. Every scope on Earth was blind. Too convenient, right? As if it chose the one blind spot to pull off something secret. And at that exact moment, its speed was insane, 68 kilometers per second. Earth moves at only 30 kilometers per second, and in nearly the opposite direction. Relative speed? Almost 98 kilometers per second. Forget catching it. We couldn't even chase its shadow. Our fastest chemical rockets? Just 16 kilometers per second. No chance. Here's the part that gives me chills. At that very moment, it could have executed a near-impossible maneuver, a reverse Oberth. What's that? In simple terms, slam the brakes at peak speed near the Sun, and you can shed velocity, drop into orbit, and stay in the solar system. NASA has even used versions of this trick to send probes into Venus and Mercury orbits. And the best place to do it? Right at Perihelion, exactly where we couldn't see a thing. So the orbit we have now is just a projection. Once it reached Perihelion, hidden from us, who knows what actually happened? If it stayed, that might be just step 1. Step 2? Approach Earth. 6th anomaly, its origin. It didn't come from some empty back road of the cosmos. Its trajectory traces back toward the galactic center. That region is dazzling, packed with stars like floodlights on a stage. It's the downtown metropolis of the Milky Way. Trying to spot one tiny body flying out of that glare is like finding a moth in a Disney fireworks show. So we never noticed it until it was already close. Only in July 2025 did an amateur astronomer stumble on it, way too late. If we'd spotted it earlier, maybe humanity could have built a probe in time to intercept. But now, it's flying far too fast, and with our primitive chemical rockets, chasing it is hopeless. Even scarier, we can't catch it, but if it wants to reach us, that would be child's play. Calculations show launching a probe from 3 Iatlas toward Venus, Mars, even Jupiter would take less than 5 kilometers per second of delta V. If it wanted to reach out a hand, it could hit us, hit accurately, and hit easily. So when you string together all these anomalies, are they really just coincidences? Too many coincidences stop being coincidences. They start looking like a script. Professor Loeb connected these chilling dots and offered a hair-raising hypothesis. 3 Iatlas may not be a natural comet at all, but a probe dispatched by an alien intelligence. It disguises itself as an ordinary comet, chooses a retrograde orbit we can't catch, and carries out a close-up reconnaissance of the solar system. By year's end, it might even release a small probe toward Earth, quietly checking whether our little backwater civilization is a threat or whether we're capable of resistance. Creepy, right? But the most terrifying part is still to come. Based on its interstellar speed, around 60 kilometers per second, scientists back-calculate that it entered the solar system's outskirts about 8,000 years ago. That was exactly when humans first began writing history. So maybe it's been lurking here since then, watching us evolve from primitive tribes into civilization. Could it have waited 8,000 years to make its move? Or could it be our creator? What if civilization itself only began because it entered? But if it's here to harm us, why wait so long? Think of it this way. If you see a cockroach at home, you don't usually say, "Let me raise it bigger before I kill it." But if one day that cockroach stands up, talks, writes, invents AI, and looks ready to surpass you, then maybe you'd think, time to squash it. Before, it was just observation. Now it's time to act. So if this really is an alien craft, we're left with two possibilities. Option 1. It's benevolent, here for galactic diplomacy, surveying wild civilizations. If so, no need to panic, just get ready to welcome our cosmic visitors. Option 2. It's not here to make friends. In that case, maybe just spend your remaining time doing what you love. But we can relax a little. Professor Loeb admits their paper is also a teaching exercise. It's just a possibility, one that can't yet be disproved. The most likely, and the most comforting, conclusion is that it's simply a natural interstellar object. Most probably just an oddball comet. Right now, everyone's waiting for more telescope data, for orbital updates, to see whether it's just pretending or whether we're simply overthinking. But here's the problem. What if? Who can guarantee it's natural? What if it's not? We don't have to fully believe the alien craft theory. But it deserves scientific attention, and for one simple reason. If it is a spacecraft, the consequences for humanity could be catastrophic. We might even need to consider early defensive measures. And even if it's just a comet, the process of thinking through this risk is still valuable. Because if one day a real alien craft shows up, the defensive strategies we brainstorm now might actually come in handy. This logic is basically Pascal's wager. As Pascal argued, it's safer to believe in God's existence. Why? What do you lose? If you believe, and He's real, you gain everything, eternal paradise. If you don't believe, and He's real, you lose everything. Straight to hell. If you believe, and He's fake, worst case, you just wasted some time. In other words, when something is uncertain but carries huge risk, the rational choice is to act as if it's real. If it's natural, the worst we face is ridicule for overthinking. But if it is an alien probe and we choose to ignore it, then when it finally acts, it'll be game over for humanity. And here's the kicker. We talk every day about the risks of AI, but the risks of external AI, alien intelligence, almost nobody takes seriously. As Liu Cixin warned in The Dark Forest, in the universe, the only way to survive is to hide. Whoever exposes themselves first dies first. If you're an advanced civilization, of course you'd send out unmanned probes, like hunters stalking prey, quietly studying if the target is a threat. Could this even be the legendary Nibiru? Yes, in Sumerian myth, Nibiru was the 10th planet, a mysterious world with an orbit of 3,600 years, each return bringing catastrophe. But current data says otherwise. 3i Atlas follows a classic hyperbolic orbit. Just a passerby, one fly-through, and it's gone. No staying, no friending us on Facebook. Exactly. Too proud to even be our friend. But that's only based on what we've seen so far. If it suddenly breaks and turns its hyperbola into an ellipse, that changes everything. Maybe it really did come just to check in on us. Maybe it missed us. Or maybe it's the galactic government, here to collect rent or taxes. And what could a tiny civilization like ours possibly give them?